EGM Network.
This is Martha Matters. From real estate, healthcare, current events, taxes, or just about any topic, we're talking about it. Call us with any questions on just about any subject. Now, here she is, Martha!
Well, hi there and welcome everyone. Hey, it is very, very interesting and it's that time of year. I don't know whether to, excuse me. I don't know whether to start off with the good news or the bad news or a little of each. But basically, it's going to be very similar to last year. In June, the weather report is going to scare us to death, saying there should be like 23 hurricanes this year, like there were last year. But the steering current, which is what concerns me, the Bermuda High, is even further out in the Atlantic, which is great. It means everything that comes off the Cape Verde Islands and South Africa will hit that high pressure, which will send all the hurricanes, not everyone, I hope everyone, but the majority of that number right up the middle Atlantic like it had last year, east of Bermuda. I think only one of them went very near Bermuda where they had to button up, so to speak. Most of them were east of Bermuda and went north and really fell apart even before reaching the North Pole, the English Channel, or anything like that. So we're very, very lucky. They may have turned into a rain event around Ireland and England, but they're prepared for that. They have a wet season like we do, a rainy season, and they're very well prepared for it. The good news also is a direct hit like we used to get along the southeast coast that we did not get last year is applicable for this year. So a direct hit in Fort Lauderdale all the way north to Jacksonville, Florida, is very, very unlikely. What is a little more likely is all those storms following the high pressure out into the mid-Atlantic. As they go north, if there is a high pressure coming across the country, that will drag them in to the Northeast and New England. So they are not being exempt from hurricanes by a long shot. But the southeast coast of Florida is going to be very lucky. Now, what also is going to happen that we cannot predict, and we didn't last year, are two things I need to be honest with you about. First, in the beginning of the hurricane season, like the second half of June and July, very often in the Bay of Campeche, which is the southern Gulf, and even in the Western Caribbean, we do get formation of hurricanes or tropical storms, at least, a named storm. Last year, and like this year too, the initial storms are going to be pushed more to the west, which is what happened last year. They hit southern Texas, and a couple of them went through northern Mexico, mostly as rain events, not as real hurricanes. If they were a Category 1, more than likely tropical storms. But that is something to look out for. But as you noticed last year and this year too, later in the season, like September, October, when the South African origination of hurricanes is getting tired, so to speak, the hurricanes form again in the Gulf, and that's what we got. Even Hurricane Milton, which turned out to be nothing for the East Coast, it was pretty strong on reaching the west coast of Florida, and as it came toward the east, it really became less than a Category 1.
Yeah.
But the problem with Milton, and this was a first time in history, we don't know if it's a fluke or it will happen again and again as something new taking place. I cannot answer that question. But what happened last year is Milton formed in the Eastern Caribbean, like many of them do, and for some reason it had a very, very thick rain band that was very wide. By thick, I mean wide, wider than a normal rain band around a hurricane center or eye. And it was so big that it broke off. Well, it didn't circulate around the eye of the hurricane, but it was in front of the hurricane where it broke off, and where the hurricane was traveling, it kept pushing it ahead of it. So even though it was supposedly by the Weather Channel nothing but a big, thick rain cloud, it was pushed ahead by Milton all the way across Florida, and before Milton even came halfway across Florida, this big patch of the rain system that had broken off turned into about 20 tornadoes, which we never had before. Milton was fine, but the tornadoes, if your house was not CBS, that is concrete block, boy, you were in trouble. And to this day, you can still drive up and down downtown Vero on the Barrier Island, and you can pick out one or two homes that were not CBS, and they still have blue tops on the roof, and they're still rebuilding the sides from the tornadoes last November and late October. So, believe me, it is an issue. And this year, I think the Weather Channel will learn if something like that happens again, where a big block of storms breaks off from the hurricane circulation around the eye and stays near the hurricane on their track, everybody should watch out. That can turn into a major development of a series of tornadoes. And that was not predicted because it was the first time it happened. Let's hope that's the last time it happens for a good while. But if something like that does happen, please, no matter what the weather station says, follow it closely and be prepared. Now, getting down to the hurricanes for Florida, they expect 19 named storms. That's a little less than last year. They predicted 23. 9 of them will be hurricanes. In other words, the remaining ones we're talking named tropical storms or named tropical depressions, and that's it. So what really counts is their prediction of 9 hurricanes. Now, last year there were like 14 hurricanes, but the majority of them, except for 2, all went up the middle Atlantic. I'm hoping for the same thing this year, where as far as I'm concerned, they can all go up the middle Atlantic. The major hurricanes, they admit, out of 9 hurricanes, 4 would be major. Now, major means a category 3 or higher. We all know we've had in the past Hurricane 2 levels that are bad enough. We need to button up. It's granted mostly what I would call greenery and shrubbery damage and busted limbs of trees and things like that. The trees that were totally left bald last year were the ones from the tornadoes that really tore them apart. When you drove around and saw where the active tornadoes were, without exaggeration, it looked like Potter's Hogwarts school yard. They were nothing but twisted-looking branches, totally bare, and you could easily see witches driving around on a broomstick or something. It really looked very, very scary. And that was from tornadoes. We have never had hurricanes that bad up here. We did in Homestead, Florida, way, way back, where everything was leveled. But they've had so many Category 3 and better hurricanes in the past in Miami and the Keys in South Florida. They have not been growing all the oak trees like we have up here, because we have not been in the habit of getting Category 3 or higher hurricanes. And we still haven't gotten them, but we did get tornadoes for the first time that achieved the same thing. Many of those oak trees are coming back, but many of them have to be removed or have been removed. Now, that takes care of that, but what really, really bothers me is that we have got to get more active predictions on what happens in the Gulf. On the good side, even last year, there was one hurricane, and it was named in the Central Gulf, and it went north, but not to landfall. It stayed in the mid to northern Gulf. And because there were no steering currents, by that I mean no high pressures, no low pressures coming through the south, the air was stagnant. So was that hurricane stagnant in the Gulf. And it started ever so slightly because of local breezes drifting toward the west. And lo and behold, when a low pressure came from the west, it picked up that hurricane as a rain event, and it really broke down to nothing, but they got rid of it. It went through central Texas and then completely dissipated. So I love to see hurricanes like that fall apart into a rain event in the Gulf and then just have a few showers wherever it lands. That's great, but that only happened to one hurricane. And I'm hoping there's more of that this year, because right now this is they're calling this a wet season because we just had a lot of rain, but the rain was a actual low pressure coming through, and the next 7 to 8 days, as I'm speaking, there is no rain whatsoever. That is not a wet season. It may be a dry season trying to convert, but it hasn't happened yet. You better keep those sprinklers going. Now, getting back to the hurricanes, because the high pressure is out in the central Atlantic again, a lot of those storms, like I first predicted to you, that is the majority of the 9 hurricanes, like last year, are going to go up the middle Atlantic. But if one stays very far south, almost hitting South America, but missing it and going into the Caribbean, that is the one that's going to scare me, because it will go straight ahead through the Straits of Florida and into the Gulf, and that can be a serious hurricane coming through the Gulf. And at that time, it all depends not on my predictions or the weather predictions or anyone else. What happens there all depends on the local steering currents. If there's a high pressure around, like over Florida, that will push it straight north through Alabama, Mississippi, and western Georgia. If there's not a high pressure there, a low pressure will push it into the Big Bend, and Tallahassee will be involved, like was last year with Helene, and it will go right through Georgia, western, North, and South Carolina, or go straight straight east, and it will go past Jacksonville and into the Atlantic. So a lot depends on the steering currents at that time. The reason I can predict the steering currents are in place for hurricanes in the Atlantic, it's a neat phenomenon, but in the summer, wherever they land, the Bermuda High and other high pressures, they stay stagnant and don't move. They stay there for the whole summer, which is why we can predict how many hurricanes we're getting from Africa and where they're going to go. Unfortunately, we cannot predict the high and low pressures that are constantly moving from west to east across Florida and into the Gulf. So it all depends if there's a high in place that will block hurricanes from going north on the Florida Peninsula. But if they're east or west, they will steer the hurricane in that direction, and so will the low pressure. They'll be working toward each other or against each other, and we will not know what happens until we're actually given the scene. We're very sorry about that, but I wish we could predict what happens in the Gulf like we do what happens in the Atlantic. So on that note, let me take a quick break and we'll be back. I will have some more hurricane statistics for you. Stay with me. I want to introduce you to our main sponsor, Highland Plaza, located on US 1 on the east side of the Highland Drive traffic light. We even have our own left-hand turn lane. One of the places in there, the first one on the north side, is Easy Stop, and you will be surprised what competitive and beautiful prices they have. You should give it a shot. Also, Tony's Hairstyling Salon is ideal for the entire family at all ages. He and his wife have run a salon there for years with a huge following. Also, we want to tell you about La Taberna Restaurant. It has the freshest Mexican food in town and a well-experienced chef. You will be most surprised not only by the food, but the reasonable prices. Also, I want to tell you about the nail salon. It's Luxury Nails. Let me tell you, they do everything, both for walk-in clients and appointments. Appointments are really appreciated, but they treat all clients professionally. Now, I want to repeat to you, this is located on US 1, just east of Highland Drive at the traffic light. It's a beautiful yellow building with a maroon awning. We look forward to seeing you there. Come on over.
At Sunshine Furniture, our 35,000 square foot showroom is filled with the largest selection of coastal furniture on the Treasure Coast. Sofas, love seats, dining sets, and bedroom groups in the latest styles and colors from Four Seasons, Braxton Color, Riverside, Universal Coastal Living, Hooker, Capri, Tommy Bahama, and lots more. We're the outdoor furniture experts and have anything you need for your outdoor living from Lloyd Flanders, Kingsley Bate, Brown Jordan, and Woodard, including a gallery of maintenance-free furniture from Berlin Gardens and Pollywood. Right now, during our Memorial Savings event, we have lots of great half-price specials, including another 10% off on all Tommy Bahama and Lexington furniture in stock or special orders. And all pictures, lamps, and accessories are half price. Sunshine Furniture, $12.95 US 1 in the Publix Plaza, Vero Beach. Don't forget to visit our outlet and sales store directly across the street that is filled with name brand closeouts, and visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com.
Party on, America! It's the Main Street Downtown Patriotic Party, presented by GHO Homes. Pop on over to downtown Vero Beach for a free street party with live music by Reckless Shots, plus kids games, beer, food trucks, and prizes. Be ready to dance from 6 to 9. Admissions as free as America. Sponsored by GHO Homes, Mangrove Sands Golf Club and Restaurant, and Formula One of Vero Beach. The Downtown Patriotic Party, a Main Street Vero Beach event, Friday, May 30th at 6 p.m. in downtown Vero Beach.
Hi there, and welcome back. Hey, folks. The good news again, as opposed to last year, I'll repeat, we have 17 named storms. Remember, tropical depressions and tropical storms are named storms also. But 9 of them only, thank God. I'd like fewer, of course, but 9 of them will be hurricanes of one category 1 or even higher to 2. But 3 and above is considered major. So they're predicting 4 of those 9 will be major hurricanes. Now, they don't know where. The NOAA and the Weather Channel said they could make landfall in Georgia, in North and South Carolina, in New York, in New England. That doesn't mean that they have to be in Florida. So, or they may hit Bermuda and not the United States at all. That still will count as one of the major hurricanes making landfall. So don't be scared by that. Don't take it lightly either, but don't be wrapped up in fear and worry and constantly buying food to be, especially soilable food, rottable food. Don't go buying that expecting a hurricane every time you hear a name. Be sensible, but don't be stupid. Buy ahead of time extra batteries and so forth that won't go bad, and at least you'll be partially prepared. On that note, we've got to say so long, but I hope this helps you a little bit, and have a great week.